Hello, and this is the part one for lighting design for our introduction to theater class. I hope everyone is doing okay. Let me see if I can move this down just a little bit. Okay, that's going to work. Let me see if it's going to move. 1 second. Yeah. All right. There. Now we got some movement. Okay, so this is the first part of lighting design. We just completed set design. Please go to your emails if you have not already, and you have taken a look at the attachments that I sent and what the university is saying about grading and everything and what we're doing. Please read everything because it's important that you still go through these lectures because these will be the information that you'll use to do the reports. Okay, lighting design, poof. Lighting design has several elements to it. Lighting design is pretty amazing, and I think you'll find this interesting, but probably most of you have had experience with lighting design, mostly when it comes to seeing a live concert or going to a live baseball or football game or something like that. Lighting has changed tons over the years, and it's probably has been one of the and is the more faster moving changing element of theater. But there are some basic elements about stage lighting that we want you to be familiar with as we go through this, and they are listed here with the little hash marks or the little subtraction marks that you see here. That would be intensity, color, direction, form, and movement. So if you were ever needing to list these, that's what they are. The reason why is because the first goal of lighting design is to give us illumination, but the main element of it is the fact that it can change in intensity. And that's the way that it stands now. But intensity means the brightness of a light. You can make it brighter, you can make it less. You have something like this in your living room or your dining room with a little dimmer switch, and you can turn the light up, you can turn the light down, make the room more soft, make it more harsh and bright. Color is the next element of lighting. We do that by way of using gels and also built-in coloring mechanisms that are like gels to change the color of a lighting instrument for the stage. The next one is direction, where the light is coming from. Is it coming from the back, the front, the side, the top? All of these are things that we experience in our day-to-day natural lighting. We just never think about it a lot. One of the interesting examples I like to use for direction is when you put the flashlight under your chin to scare, your little brother or sister or something like that. It's the shadows that are creepy, and we always have a source in our day-to-day natural lighting, and all of that is always an attempt to try to recreate that for the stage for realistic sake for what we're seeing on stage. Form is the next one. So we have intensity, color, direction. Form is the shape of the light, whether by itself, being illuminated through the beam, or how it looks put together with other light. And then movement is the last one. Light can move us from moment to moment within a play. The common example is what we see in a movie. Is the light a quick blackout? Does it go away really fast? Are we clipped out of a scene really fast? That's what lighting kind of does for us. Or are we left looking and gazing at a particular moment, and we're there longer than we expected as the light slowly goes away from us, leaving us time to really see things fade out of our visual. So lighting has a lot of things it can do for us, and so that's how we're going to get started to let you know. Intensity, color, direction, form, and movement are the elements of lighting for the stage. So we talk about all the objectives for designers, for the theater, and for a lighting designer. Here are a list of the main objectives. Objectives are basically the goals. And as I said before, the first and foremost important goal of a lighting designer is to provide visibility, to illuminate. We've got to see the story on stage. The lighting designer provides the levels of light and darkness that we need, but the first goal is to be able to see. If we can see what's happening on stage, we're not solely relying on what we hear or what we feel may be going on. We're allowed to see the interactions of the actors' faces and what's going on. But it has become kind of a big power that a lighting designer has now, since the lighting designer has not always had the capability of various levels of visibility, which is that level of intensity. The second one is to establish time and place. Lighting design can show us some great nighttime looks, daytime, indoor, outdoor. We use things like gobos, G-O-B-O. A gobo is a little piece of tin that you can buy cut out with a design on it, or you can cut it out yourself and put it inside a lighting instrument and shine an amazing design onto a stage or a set and create some amazing texture or an amazing time period. Creating mood. Anybody ever go to a haunted house that has nothing but white light? Not usually so much. Moods are created in so many different ways. Is it something that is cold, something that is dark, something that is lit up very cleanly, that is happy? This place feels happy, this place feels dark and evil. Just like your movies, when the movie starts, the same things that the cameras do with the filters and the colors they apply to their process of editing, sometimes usually came by way of their live lighting, but sometimes now will come by editing. But in live theater, we have to capture that live. So, a nice evening in a dining room, things of that nature can help capture a mood or make us feel something that's kind of interesting for us. Reinforcing style. We talked about realism, surrealism, and abstract. Remember, all of these apply in our elements of design. Realism, of course, is when the lighting seems, it seems like lighting in a living room. Okay, like if you go into your friend's living room or whatever and you see, it could be totally recreated on stage. A cold mountaintop could be easily recreated on stage. Non-realism or surrealism, something that tends to be very odd. Maybe there's a different angle of light source, maybe there's odd shadows, maybe there is a color that we typically don't experience in our day and age or our life today, or that we know of. Things of that nature can help reinforce a stylized idea. Abstract doing the same thing, giving us lighting for illumination, but imposing a feeling that we are not very used to. The next one is to provide focus and composition. We talked about composition, bringing the look of how the lighting comes together on stage, how that stage picture or the set design changes with the lighting, how it's added on top of it, what parts of it get to be illuminated, what do not, what parts of it is changed by texture from the lighting. So when we went back to set design, we talked about texture. That's why it's important. If you take a light and you shine it on the side of a bumpy brick wall, it'll create some really neat texture and shadows. But if you put it on the side of a wall that's been painted like a brick, it'll be relatively flat, and we'll see, the painting of the brick. So we see that a lot in lighting design for restaurants and offices. So composition is very important in thinking about a goal for a lighting designer, and also focus. The lighting tells us where we need to be looking. And since in the theater is there on stage, you can look wherever you want. If the stage is lit up, I can look anywhere. But there may be areas where it's more focused in lighting, so my eye travels to that place, so it does help with that. Establishing rhythm. Establishing rhythm by how the play moves along, how fast fades go in and out, things of that nature. Blackouts, having the light totally taken away from us, and how they transition from one scene to another. These can establish something that is more upbeat and has a higher pace, or slow things down and make a story seem kind of slow. So stage lighting history, we're not going to do too much on that, but these are some kind of little bullet points I want you to be familiar with. In the beginning, in the origins of theater with the Greeks, where we start, we look at how everything was outdoors, and primarily so we could see it. So the concept of an outdoor festival with theater was always kind of mostly a daytime activity. things sometimes could go into the evening, and they did use, candles, large torches, fire, things like that to illuminate, but primarily everything was outside. And the sun was the first lighting for the stage because it was really about getting people out and seeing what was going on. And as you remember, the Greeks did everything at first outside, and so part of that was because the sun, of course, let everyone in the audience see what was going on. So from the 1600s, thereabouts to around 1803, theater began to move indoors in more of a common way. They didn't have retractable roofs and things of that nature, but going indoors, the use of candles and oil lamps were there so that candles could keep burning and keep light happening inside the theaters. This was pretty amazing because it allowed people to be inside. Things could happen at nighttime when people were usually, not working, and they could have that as their evening entertainment. Of course, having lots more fire inside to illuminate things made it hotter and also created more risk for fire and things like that. So, yeah, just about any large fire in any large city probably began at the theater because most homes did not always have that many burning fires and candles and things like that. So theaters were the source of a lot of fire events that were pretty deadly in our history and throughout Europe and so on. It was in 1803 that we got gas lights. And gas lighting, what is very significant about that is that gas lighting we could manipulate. Just like that gas heater in your grandmother's living room. When you turn up the gas or the gas on a stove, the fire gets bigger and hotter, obviously. And so gas, being able to feed the gas and take it away allowed for lighting to be controlled in way of intensity. So lighting could get brighter and lighting could get less. So that did help create a process of lighting to have these kind of moods and feelings and lower light and brighter light and things of that nature. And so that was a big deal. Another big point in lighting, of course, in lighting history is the invention of the incandescent light bulb. We were able to control electricity, and by doing so the same way we did with gas, we were able to do with electricity with the light bulb in 1879 from Thomas Edison. And so that's a very important thing to note. And then, of course, today in theater lighting, we're constantly moving. It's every time I go to a conference, I'm looking at what the next thing is happening in lighting, and it is so hard to keep up with it. Just when you thought you caught up, the new one came out, and most of it's bells and whistles. But we will talk about three categories: controls, instruments, and go ahead and add dimmers on there, or dimming, the process of dimming. These three elements are what we will talk about in stage lighting, because a control talks to an instrument. An instrument is the lighting fixture. A control is the switch or the button that tells the instrument what to do. The dimming process, or the dimmer, is how the control talks to the instruments. It is by way of dimmers that we're allowed to control electricity intensity and take it away. So that's going to keep it kind of on the basis for you on that to kind of understand how that works. See what we have next. Okay, the lighting designer resources. There are three types of lights: soft edge lights, sharp concentrated spotlights, and floodlights. And the lighting controls handle things like light cues, fades, blackouts, and then we'll talk about new technology. Okay, I'm going to end this as part 1, and then we'll pick up with part 2. Thank you very much.